In our modern, interconnected world, we're often told that saying yes is the key to success. Say yes to every opportunity, every social invite, every project, every request, because saying yes is seen as a sign of enthusiasm, commitment, and progress. We associate saying yes with being helpful, being reliable, and getting ahead. But what if the real secret to success lies in learning to say no? The truth is, many of us are caught in a perpetual cycle of overcommitment. We juggle too many obligations, say yes to things that don't align with our values or priorities, and stretch ourselves too thin, trying to meet everyone else's expectations. In doing so, we forget that boundaries, the art of saying no, are just as important for our well-being and personal growth as the act of saying yes. Mastering the art of saying no isn't just about turning down invitations or ignoring requests. It's about learning how to protect your energy, prioritize your goals, and create the space needed to cultivate a life that is aligned with your true desires. When you say no to things that don't serve you, you say yes to self-care, focus, and the freedom to invest your time and energy in what truly matters. Boundaries allow you to take control of your life, steer your direction, and preserve your mental and emotional health. The challenge lies in the fact that saying no is often difficult. There's an underlying fear of disappointing others, feeling guilty, or being perceived as selfish. These fears can create a mental block, making it hard to set boundaries, even when we know deep down that doing so would be the healthiest choice. Today, we'll explore why saying no is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and success, why we find it so challenging, and how we can begin to embrace it with confidence and clarity. The first step in learning to say no is recognizing why we have such a hard time with it in the first place. For many, the fear of saying no stems from a deep-seated desire to please others. We worry that if we refuse a request, we'll be seen as uncooperative, unhelpful, or even unkind. This fear of rejection or guilt often clouds our judgment and leads us to take on too much, leaving us drained, overwhelmed, and frustrated. But in reality, the fear of disappointing others is often much larger in our minds than it is in reality. Most people understand that everyone has limits. When you set a boundary, it's not about rejecting the person. It's about protecting your ability to show up fully in the relationships and commitments that matter most to you. In fact, saying no is often a sign of respect for both your own needs and the needs of others. By learning to prioritize your time and energy, you become more available for the things that align with your values and purpose. Another reason we struggle with saying no is the fear of missing out, also known as FOMO. We live in a culture that prizes busyness and productivity, often making us feel that if we're not constantly involved in multiple projects, social events, or activities, we're somehow falling behind or missing out. The pressure to be everywhere and do everything can lead to burnout and overwhelm, but the reality is that most of the time, we're not truly missing out. We're simply trading our time and energy for things that may not contribute to our growth or happiness. Saying no, then, becomes an act of self-preservation, a decision to protect your own well-being rather than succumb to the pressure of external expectations. Saying no also requires us to confront another uncomfortable truth that we have to prioritize. In order to say yes to what truly matters, we have to acknowledge that we can't do it all. Our time, energy, and attention are finite resources, and every decision we make to invest in one thing means we're choosing not to invest in something else. Setting boundaries and saying no allows us to align our actions with our deepest desires and long-term goals, rather than simply reacting to external pressures or fleeting opportunities. The more we practice saying no, the clearer our priorities become, and the more we're able to focus on what truly serves our growth and success. In practice, saying no doesn't always have to be a confrontation or a rejection. It can be as simple as saying, "I'd love to help, but I'm unable to commit at the moment," or "I'm focusing on some personal projects right now, so I'll have to pass." The key is to recognize that you're not obligated to say yes to everything. It's okay to be selective with how you spend your time and energy. In fact, it's essential. Saying no is also a way to foster self-respect. When we say yes to things that don't resonate with us or don't align with our values, we undermine our own sense of self-worth. We're telling ourselves that the needs and desires of others are more important than our own. By learning to set boundaries and say no, we reinforce the idea that our time, energy, and well-being are valuable and deserving of respect. This act of self-respect extends to others as well, because when we show up fully for the commitments and relationships that matter most to us, we can give more of ourselves without feeling drained or resentful. Of course, the fear of saying no is still real. But as we become more comfortable with setting boundaries, we begin to see that the world doesn't fall apart when we don't say yes to every request or invitation. In fact, saying no often leads to greater clarity, focus, and creativity. When we protect our time and energy, we create the space to do more of the things that truly matter, whether that's working on a passion project, focusing on self-care, or deepening meaningful relationships. In turn, this gives us more energy and attention to give to others in a way that is authentic and sustainable. So, how do we begin to embrace the power of saying no in our lives? The first step is to get clear on what you value most. What are your long-term goals? What are your non-negotiables? The more clear you are on your priorities, the easier it becomes to say no to things that don't align with them.
The next step is to practice assertiveness. Saying no doesn't mean being rude or dismissive. It's about clearly and respectfully stating your needs and boundaries. You don't need to feel guilty for turning down requests that don't serve your well-being or your goals. Saying no is an act of self-care, not selfishness.
Another important step is to let go of perfectionism. Often we feel the need to say yes because we believe that we have to be everything to everyone. But the reality is that nobody can. You don't need to be the perfect friend, employee, or partner. Learning to say no means accepting that you can't do everything and that you're okay with that. Embrace the idea that you don't need to overextend yourself to prove your worth. In time, the more we practice saying no, the more we'll realize that our ability to set boundaries is not just empowering, it's liberating. By learning to say no to the things that don't matter, we open ourselves up to saying yes to the things that truly do. This doesn't just unlock personal growth and success, it cultivates a life that is more focused, intentional, and aligned with our deepest values and desires. In a world that constantly pressures us to be available, to take on more, and to say yes to every opportunity, learning to say no is a powerful act of self-love and personal empowerment. It's a way to take back control of our time, energy, and attention, and to create a life that reflects who we truly are and what we truly want. By embracing the art of saying no, we allow ourselves the freedom to say yes to what really matters.